Hello. We're going to talk about finding scholarly articles using the OCCC Library's website. I'm going to focus on scientific topics, but this information would be useful for anyone looking for credible sources. When looking for any type of source, you need to evaluate that source for credibility. This includes websites that you might find using Google or for articles that you find using a library database. Things that you're going to look for are authority. Who wrote the article? Who wrote that web page? What are their credentials? Do they have a degree or a work history in that field? Are they affiliated with a university? Are they considered an expert in that area? Bias. What information did they omit? Did they put forth an opinion without supporting it with facts? Why are they sharing this information? Are they trying to sell you something? Currency. How up to date is the information? Was it written recently? Was it written 20 years ago? Depending upon the discipline that your research topic is related to, this may be very important. If you are looking for scientific or medical information, you want very recent information. Documentation. You'll recall that when you write papers, your professors expect you to provide the sources that you use and provide a works cited or references page. When you're looking at other sources, you need to see the sources that the author used. Did they tell you how they got their information? Sometimes that will be a works cited page at the end of the document, and sometimes that may just be within the text of the article. To find credible scholarly articles, we are going to visit the OCCC Library website, www.occc.edu/library. On the library's website, under the Start Your Search banner, click the articles link and look for EBSCOhost. EBSCOhost is a collection of databases provided by the library and is an excellent starting point for research. Before you start your search in EBSCOhost, you'll want to select which databases you'll be searching. Click on the searching link above the search boxes. You'll see a list of databases. Some are general and others are focused on a specific discipline. If you scroll down, you'll see databases on psychology, clinical healthcare, business, political science, and other disciplines. If you close this box, you can go to the left-hand side and select database descriptions to see full descriptions of each database. Return to the databases box to make your selections. You want to select databases that are appropriate for your topic. You may be tempted to scroll to the top and select all of the databases. However, this will cause your search to return lots of articles that are not relevant to your topic. If you don't see a database that is focused on the discipline you're interested in researching, the first two databases, Masterfile and Academic Search Complete, cover lots of topics and will provide you with scholarly resources that are appropriate for academic work. After choosing your databases and clicking Select, we can begin thinking about our search strategy. You may be used to searching in Google where you often use natural language. We want to use keywords. You should be thoughtful about the keywords you use. When selecting a topic, think of brief keywords or phrases, different ways to describe your topic, similar terms, and ways to narrow and broaden your focus. For example, if you are given the topic of climate change, think of other terms such as climate crisis, global warming, or greenhouse gases. Depending upon the requirements of your assignment, you may need to narrow the focus a bit. You might pick something that is impacted by climate change, such as ocean levels, daily temperatures, or the ozone. For my search, I'm going to focus on climate change and endangered species. Note that I put these on separate lines since they are different concepts, and I keep my keywords really short. Be willing to be flexible with your search terms and try a variety of strategies. After clicking search, I get over 2,000 results. This will result in a much more relevant and scholarly set of results that are going to be, in most cases, more appropriate for academic research than if we had used Google. Generally speaking, most of the articles that you find in EBSCOhost are going to fall into one of two categories. You're going to have articles that are more news-oriented, perhaps just reporting on the events happening related to your topic. Then you're going to have more scholarly resources, usually written by authors that have done original research in the field, such as experiments. Let's take a look at this article. Pilocarpus microphyllus seedling growth threatened by climate change. Click on the title. Note that above the article, it states that it is peer-reviewed. We'll talk about this more later. You'll see that the authors of the article are listed here and have footnotes to show you what institutions they are affiliated with. Many of these authors are with research labs and universities, which help us evaluate their authority. The source field tells us the name of the publication this article was in, as well as the date. This helps us evaluate currency. Note that for scientific topics such as climate change, currency is very important. You'll also see in this field the volume and issue numbers, which are part of the citation. We'll revisit this later in the video. The subject terms are a good place to look for additional search terms or ways to narrow or broaden your search. The abstract is a summary of the article. Read this before trying to read the article. It will help you evaluate whether or not this article is viable for your research. As I mentioned before, this article is peer-reviewed. Peer-reviewed articles are considered to be the most reliable and credible. They contain original research by the authors. They may have performed experiments, surveys, or other methods to find an answer to a research question. After writing their findings in article format, they submit them to a scholarly journal that then asks other advanced scholars, also known as peer reviewers, to evaluate the article. Those peer reviewers will provide feedback on how the research was done and the findings. They may ask the authors to change things, account for concerns with the research, or reject it altogether. Once the authors and the reviewers are in agreement, the article is published and is considered peer-reviewed. Note that sometimes articles are published in a peer-reviewed journal, but the article itself is not actually peer-reviewed. Examples of this are letters to the editor, book reviews, or editorials. Any article that is very short, less than 2 pages, is likely to not be an actual peer-reviewed article. If you decide you'd like to read this article, look at the Access Options tab at the top. This article offers both a PDF and online access. When you have a choice, select the PDF option. While peer-reviewed articles are a great resource, they are usually also difficult for the average college freshman or sophomore to read. The language and concepts are advanced and usually very narrow in scope. There are frequently lots of statistics and other data that are challenging to understand. The articles are quite long. This one is 16 pages. If your professor has required you to use peer-reviewed research, the good news is that they likely don't expect you to understand everything in the article. You can read select parts of the article to get a general understanding. Most articles have similar organization. The introduction will give general information about the author's research question and how they were going to prove or disprove it. Scroll down and you'll usually see a methods or methodology section that talks about the specifics of how they did their research. The results section is usually full of stats and other data that may be too technical for you to understand. The discussion will go into detail about the results, and the conclusion will summarize the original research question and results of the research. Focus on the introduction, methodology, and conclusion. Some articles may have a conflict of interest section. That notes any potential conflicts the authors may have that could potentially impact their research. For example, if they were employed by a private company that could benefit from the results of the study, this might be a conflict. Some articles will also list where their funding for the study came from, which may also reveal conflicts of interest. Both of these sections, when present, help assess bias. Lastly, we have the references or works cited section that lists the sources or documentation that the authors relied upon when doing their research. At the top of your browser, you can see options for saving or sharing this article by clicking on the arrow icon. Choosing the quotation mark icon will help you create a citation for this article. You'll see that it provides citations in several different styles, such as MLA and Chicago. You can copy this citation and paste it into your own document. Be sure to double check it. Occasionally there are errors or formatting is lost. Let's return to our search results by using the browser's back button. Not all articles will be peer-reviewed. If you're looking for less advanced articles, look for those that do not have the peer-reviewed tag at the top of the article. These will usually be noted as a periodical. If you only want to see these types of articles, you can use the source type dropdown at the top and select anything that is not an academic journal. Conversely, if you want to restrict your search to only peer-reviewed, choose that limiter. Note that not all articles will have the full text available to read immediately, but rather have a link that says, request this via interlibrary loan. These articles will need to be obtained from another library. Follow this link, fill out and submit the form, and library staff will work to obtain the article. This is a free service and usually takes about 1 to 2 business days, but can take longer. Articles will be sent to your college email. If you only want to view articles that are available to read immediately, you can scroll to the top and select the full text limiter box. You can also limit by the date of publication. If you have further questions about EBSCOhost, go back to the library's website and visit the Contact a Librarian link under Getting Help, or use the chat feature available at the bottom right corner of the library's homepage. Good luck with your research.